Springfield Armory Range Officer 9mm full size on Rider's Range. A while back I picked up the Springfield Range Officer. I wanted a target sighted 9mm full size 1911 and really liked the way that gun worked, but I was very intrigued when I saw the Sig Match Elite Stainless Target come out, also target sighted full size 9mm. I found one at the right price and couldn't resist getting it, and Rider's Range is going to put the two of them side by side to see if there's a winner. I want to thank Ann Arbor Arms for their support of Rider's Range. Ann Arbor Arms is a 5-star range and training facility, and they can be found at AnnArborArms.com. Similarities and differences. Well, let's start with the Springfield. That's the one we've had the longest. And this gun is carbon steel, Parkerized, full size, 9mm. It's been a really nice gun for me. It shoots well. You can see it does say Range Officer on it. And it also says it's Springfield Armory. And it says model of the 1911 A1. Well, it doesn't have a whole lot in common with the A1. It doesn't have the short trigger. It doesn't have the rounded mainspring housing. I don't know why they put the A1 on there, but hey, that's up to Springfield, however they want to work it. This is, by the way, a 70 series gun, whereas the Sig is an 80 series, but also full size. Now this one's in stainless steel, as there's the name, the Match Elite Stainless. Sig, of course, has cocking serrations on the front, none on the Springfield. They both have them in the rear. The ones on the Sig are very widely spaced, and the ones on the cocking serrations on the Springfield are more typical of your GI type, except they're angled as opposed to the traditional GI, which are straight up and down. And you're going to notice from this profile there's one thing that turns off a lot of 1911 fans, and that's the external extractor. And again, I've got several guns with external extractors, and if you go back to an earlier series in our video, you'll see we put two SIGs side by side. I mentioned the same thing there. We haven't had a problem with them. We also looked at a Smith and have more Smiths coming actually with external extractors. Never had a problem with them. Both of these have skeletonized triggers, skeletonized hammers. The triggers have over travel stops, and we'll talk more about the triggers in just a minute. The sights are somewhat similar. They're both target type sights. The Sig is a 3-dot system, and these are not illuminated, they're just white painted dots. And there's not as much contrast between the front and the rear sight width-wise that I'd like, but it still is an accurate gun. And easy to pick up that front sight. The Range Officer, black sights, and for accurate target type shooting, I like black sights. You can see there is just a little bit of light definition each side of that front sight, and it does provide for a good accuracy on either of those. These sights are fully adjustable for windage and elevation on both guns, and again, they're designed as target type guns. Let's see what else. Checkering on the grip frame, fairly similar between the two. It shows up a little better, obviously, on the stainless. It looks like the Springfield might be just a little bit finer than the Sig, but not a lot. Difference is on the front of the grip, and there's real nice feel checkering on the front. I don't know if that's 25 or 30 line cinch. I'm thinking it's probably about 25. Good grip on the Sig, but on the Springfield there's nothing. If I were to do a lot more shooting with this, I'd probably put some clear skateboard tape or even black skateboard tape on it to give me a little better grip. For what I've been using for, though, it's been working just fine. Oh, one other thing. You'll notice that the Sig has an ambidextrous safety on it. The big difference between these two safeties, though, is the safety on the Springfield is fairly large. The safety on the Sig is about the same on both sides, right hand and left hand, and is not overly large, although it's worked very well. Now the flip side of that is the slide stop lever on the Sig is fairly large and aggressive, whereas the slide stop lever on the Springfield isn't as large. But again, for the use that I put these two, no problems. The magazine release on the Sig, you can see, does seem to stick out a little bit farther, and it's very easy to drop the magazines on the Sig intentionally. It doesn't protrude as far on the Springfield, though again, I haven't had any issues with it, so that's a matter of preference on it. So I started to mention the trigger a while back. Let's look again at the triggers, skeletonized on both. The Sig, by the way, these guns have been safety checked and are empty. The Sig has a fair amount of take up. One thing I want to show you on the other side of this, though, it's also been rubbing against the frame, so this hasn't been fitted quite as nicely as I would expect out of a gun in this price range, although that hasn't deterred the function of the trigger, hasn't made it any stiffer to function. The Sig comes in at 5.5 pounds, does have take up, almost no creep, and because it does have an over travel stop, it stops right away. So again, a very nice trigger on the Sig, not the best I've had out of a 1911, but very nice. Reset is short, although the trigger spring does push it forward a little bit beyond the reset, but still a nice trigger. Springfield, again, safety check, there's nothing in this gun. Same thing, a little bit of creep, and I think that's not so much wear on the right side as you're seeing as oil. There's a little bit of wear on it, but this gun's been shot more than the Sig. Less take up than the Sig has. Short, clean, crisp 5 pound or 5.5 pound break, again the same as the Sig. And short reset, and again a very, very nice trigger on both of these. Guns are very similar in weight. The Sig comes in at 44.8 ounces. The Springfield is an ounce heavier at 45.8. Now this is loaded with 9 rounds of the magazine, 1 round for the chamber of 124 grain ammunition. It's interesting, on the Sig website it says that the empty weight of the Sig is allegedly 1.6 ounces heavier than the empty weight listed on the Springfield website. It could very well be because Sig is weighing it with an empty magazine and Springfield is not. Sig doesn't list manufacturer's suggested retail prices in their catalog. The going price for the Sig Stainless Target 9mm is about $1,000. I haven't found any on the used market at this point, so you can expect to pay $1,000 give or take on the Sig for a new one. MSRP on the Springfield is $942. You can probably find these all day long for about $700 new, and I have seen a couple of them in the neighborhood of $600 used. So how do they shoot? Is there a shootable difference in the price on this? As you see, the Sig is a nice tight group. The Springfield is just a little bit looser. Now some of that could be the ammunition. Again, I don't test this with a variety of ammunition. I shoot what I've got. It's accurate enough for what I'm doing with it. If I wanted to shoot real accurate shooting with either of these guns, I'd make sure that I tested all the ammunition that I have available to see which gun likes which ammunition more. It's entirely possible that the Springfield would shoot a little bit tighter if I shot a different type of ammunition in it. But again, for our purposes, it's okay. Just not quite as tight with the Blazer 120. Both of these guns will hit 10-inch plates at 50 yards pretty much all day long. Again, I think it's just a little better with the ammunition I've been using with the Sig. Very happy with how both of these guns shoot. So how do I rank these guns? Let's look at the Sig first. For pros, I'd give it accuracy, and again, accuracy with the ammunition that we were using. Certainly reliability. I haven't had any complaints at all about the reliability of the Sig. It's worked very well for me. I really like that extended magazine release. Neutral, I'd say the trigger, the take up, the fit and finish is kind of neutral. It's not the best 1911. It's certainly not the worst. It does work. The ambi safety, I'm kind of neutral on that. I don't have a preference one way or the other. Well, actually I do. I prefer not to have an ambi safety, but if you prefer the ambi is working. One thing I didn't point out is the lanyard ring on the grip on the Sig. I don't think I'm going to rush right out and put a a lanyard on this and go out and be a cavalryman with it. I haven't had any problems with the feel of the grip with it. Patrick E. Kelly did a video on this, out of the box to the match, and he did complain that the grip cutout where that lanyard ring is was starting to bother his hand. I haven't had any issues with that. Negatives on the Sig might be the price. As again, it's a $1,000 gun all day long, and some people would say that the external extractor is a negative. On the Springfield, no problems at all with reliability. That's definitely a plus. The trigger feel, the trigger reset on the Springfield, even though it's the same weight as the Sig, I think it feels a little bit better than the Sig. I like the black sights, again, for precise shooting. I prefer the black over the 3-dot. Certainly the price on the Springfield is a plus. And the Springfield is made in the United States, while the Sig is, even though it's made in the United States, Sig Arms is not a United States owned company. If I had to find something neutral on the Springfield, it'd be that it's just a plain Parkerized finish. But then again, for the price you're paying for a working gun, there's nothing wrong with that. Negative side, again, I haven't found it to be quite as accurate as I would like, but again, different ammunition would probably take care of that. So is one a better gun? Well, maybe the Sig is a little better gun, but again, you pay more for it, so I think the Springfield is probably a better value. I'd be happy carrying either one. I'd be happy using either of these guns for shooting steel, anything other than the finest of precision shooting, although I think with the right ammunition, either one could certainly hold its own. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. If you want to find out what's coming up on future Riders Range videos, click the notification bell. And to find out what our playlist is for all of the scheduled videos in the Great Affordable 1911 series, go to our website at www.ridersrange.com. And please leave us a comment if you have any comments at all on this video or any other videos that you've seen with Riders Range, or if there's anything that you'd like to see us do a video on, please leave a comment here or on our website at info@ridersrange.com. Again, I want to thank you for visiting Riders Range.